little piece of willow. Sometimes to just go straight onto the canvas can be terrifying, so with a little bit of willow, it's different than the compressed charcoal. It makes a much lighter mark that can be rubbed away. I want to mark down a few wee marks just as guidelines for where I'm going. Now, I also have, you perhaps can't see, I have set this little ink drawn at the side as a wee reference, because out of the two studies that I did, it's the one that I am happiest with. So I am going to go similar in composition to it. That's ish for my jug. Now, I made the mistake, do you remember my jug was too wide? You make it narrower. My lemon will be there, lime there, 2 lines here. Think about where the handle is, so you can see the flowers and what exactly I'm doing. I'm a wee bit closer to the composition than I would like to be. I'd like to be standing further back, but just so that you can see where I'm painting, I keep it nice and close. There's a flower sitting down here, and there, daisy there. There's a group of flowers there, another daisy. There's stuff coming out here on the side. There's that one big tall one that's coming, making sure that your flowers are coming out of your jar. There's one there. You can see how loose this is. It's just a wee guideline of where everything is. I'm going to paint all over the top of it anyway, but it's just a wee starting point for me. Okay, simple as that. So, like I said, first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to dampen down the page, then add on some colour. Now, I am wanting the background to be sort of this sort of taupey, creamy colour, so I'm going to go for the brown. So I'm going to look at where the dark creases are, in and around the fruit, back here, in here at the back. Down now. Then over the top, I'm gonna add in the white. Now, I am a fan of mixing on my canvas, so rather than just always mixing on here, mix on here as well. Now, it's too white for me, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of that orange in and give it a warmer thing. Now, it's acrylic, as I said, so it's much more forgiving than watercolour. So if there's anything I don't like, I am able to paint over the top. Right, so I will work my way around until I have my background filled in. Now, as I said, normally if I was painting this myself, I would be heading for a much larger brush, but I'm trying to keep within demonstrating with the sorts of brushes that the pupils will have in school. So what I will do is continue on with this until I have the whole background filled in and I am content with it. So at this stage I have the most of it filled in. Probably looks slightly darker than it is. I'm still working in natural light. It's only 4:30 and it's still quite good, but as it gets darker I will then put on a daylight tube that is still in the direction of the window. I have the background covered. That is the worst bit. The hardest bit to get out of the road is putting the first bit of paint on. And once you have that, then look, just this bit really that you have to concentrate on. So you will have seen, hopefully, even though that was a time lapse there, I'm just layering over it, and I'm really looking at where the lights are. Lots of lights here, lots of darks in and around bottom, darks in here at the back, here, and again over at this side. But putting in the swathes of light that we can see too. And as I said before at the very start, when you're working with acrylic, it can feel quite sticky and hard to move. A wee bit of water on your brush will loosen that up. And see, once it's dry as well, you can keep adding over the top if you feel like it's mixing just that wee bit too much for you. Don't worry about the way you're using the brush. I tend to reach right out at the end because I like a really nice loose mark. Again, do you remember what we're going for? An abstraction of what is here. Okay, so we're hinting at it. So I'm putting nice big blocks of white on here now where I can see the folds over. Okay, now, and we are ready, I think, to start a little bit of colour. Now, where do you start in a composition to paint? Do you remember when you were at school? Depending on what handed you were, if you were right hand, suggested you started from the left and moved across to the right so that you didn't get your arm all messy. Painting. Throw the rules out. Start wherever you want. Where I am actually going to start is I'm going to put the base of the jug in first, okay, because it hides in underneath the flowers here, but it's also the vessel that is really holding everything else together. It's containing the picture a wee bit. So I'm going to put in that colour first of all, and then also what I want to do is look, so it's sort of like a duck egg, darker than duck egg blue. Look at where those colours also exist up here. So when I'm blocking in this bit, I will also put it in wherever else I see. So there's this flower, the purple flower, the Nepeta, sort of looks like, my husband says, a bit like a nettle. The leaves on it are a similar colour, slightly darker tone, but similar colour. In the lime, we could also use this colour. In the fern, especially the backs of the fern, we could use that colour too, and maybe some of the stems of these purple flowers. Dear love them, look at them. They're all wilting because they've been there for 3 days. So, I'm going to mix up that colour. So do you remember before we had mixed up our colour palette? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this green, the dark green, I'm going to put a little bit of it somewhere that I can find a space, and I'm going to add some white to it. So, I'm going to drag this little bit across here, washing my brush, dry it off, and a little first. You can always add more. Okay, so you see how that is changing the colour. Okay, now scrape it off because I want to add more white, but I need to make sure that my brush is nice and clean. Also, change your water often. Okay, so you can see there, it's starting to get very close to the colour. Now, I want it to be nice and loose. Just dip my finger in the red paint there. I want it to be nice and loose, easy to move on my canvas, or my canvas on my page. And I'm going to start to mark that in. Now, it's a little bit too dark, but you remember what I said before? I like to mix on the board, the page, the canvas, whatever it is, get the handle back in there again. So, see, it comes around here. It's much darker in there, around the handle. You can't see because there's a leaf sitting. Okay, now it's quite dark up and around here. Taking my time, always looking. Look at the reflection. There's an area of light here. It's actually the wood paneling that is around this room is white, and that's what's reflecting there. And pull those darks down. Cross beat. Hopefully, what you can see is the jug appearing round. And I'm going to add a little bit of the dark green in, where the darkest colours of the jug are. I am not worrying about blending it. I love to see the lines of the paint and the brush. Now, if that is not for you, that's absolutely fine. You can go in with a smaller brush and refine it. I always will say, when you're creating art, make art that you love and that you like. If you like a photorealist finish, well then you take it to that point. I find that quite stressful. I like to create pieces with nice loose brush marks and to experiment with the shapes and the lines that you can get, and get away with leaving as well, so hinting at really what is there. I like that. Maybe not completely abstract for me, but definitely abstracting from what is in front of me. I'm going to put up here. Now it needs to get lighter. So what I'm going to do is wash my brush, dry it off. I'm just going to put some white straight onto it. Now, is this jug completely green? I don't think so. I will work at adding in a few other colours. I will put in purples, put in a few reds, pinks in and around it. One, to give it a little bit of interest, but also that's what I see in it. I see these whites are not pure white. I see that there are slight pinks in them as well. Like I said before, don't always talk the whole way through painting, but I will try to keep you with me, and obviously I will time lapse a lot of it so that you're not just watching me move and paint around, but I want to give you a sense of how it is I would go about painting. Okay, in this jug then, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a little bit of pink. So remember we mixed up the pink here. What I'm going to do is the same, like a little bit of white in here. I'm going to make it lighter. It's not. Take a little bit of the pink over, and I'm going to mix it in. What on earth am I doing here? Right, well, trust me, I'm going to go with it. A wee bit of interest just here. So I can see, maybe you can't, there's a V shape here. And then there's a little coming down here and across and round. And again, a little bit down around the handle. I'm going to do the same with the blue. Small amount of blue. And then I'm going to, have you noticed I've been really good at washing my brush? If you watch the time lapses in real time, I might skip a few brush washes. But I'm trying my best so that I am teaching you the right way and not the lazy way. Right, let's put in some of the lighter colours, okay? Right. There's a lot of stuff reflecting here, so I'm just wanting to note that in. Still want to keep over here pretty dark because it's a different colour in underneath the lip here. Bring it down. This is much darker here as well. We will work on that. Maybe a little bit around here. Now, let me see. I'm going to go back to that dark green again. So remember I said I don't really use black all that much. Well, what do you see? If I put some of that green there, now, can you hear my two children just starting to argue with each other in the background? It's the joy of working from home. So add a little bit more green in there. And I've got a dark, now it's not black, it is green. What I'm going to do then is I'm going to go back to where it is darkest again, so actually inside as well. And this isn't finished. This is me just blocking in, giving everything a wee bit of grounding and a base. That's reflecting up the handle there. It'll come across from here, round, take it right round, and then round the back. It's pretty dark in there where that lemon is leaning against, and again then in underneath. Now, and I might leave it at that point for now, but it's there. We've got something to put our flowers into. Okay. Where to next? Well, I'm going to block in the lemon. Right. My water will need changed after this. It's starting to get a bit grey. Make sure you're changing it because the colour of your dirty water will start to affect your paint. Right. I am not going to start off with what's the lightest colour on here. Well, it's yellow. Is that the lightest version of yellow that I can get? No, absolutely not. It's a very standard yellow colour. What we're wanting to do is go for a lighter tone, which will be on the pastel. Now, sort of half running out of room here, just have to do it down here. And I'm going to mix a nice dollop of yellow. Now, remember what I said about noting where the colours are? Now, granted, I did not put this similar colour into some of the leaves because I've lost a point of context here, so I would need a few flowers in first before I can start to really accurately put that in. Dollop of white into your paint. I actually prefer to mix my paint with a palette knife than a brush. You lose a lot of it on the brush. Okay, right, we could probably go lighter than that, but I will mix in white on the page. Right, let's get this lemon in. So it's sitting here. Remember, this is wet. If I touch it, it's going to start to mix, okay? So just be mindful of that as we go. I am working around where I think the line is thinking about the shape of this lemon oval, and then it comes out a little bit before it comes back round. And again, we have a little nub that sort of comes out here as well. Don't worry if it's not perfect, we can come back to it. Okay, just looking at if that's coming there. If I was continue round, will it fit? Yes, perfect, good job. Right, now let's lighten that down a little bit. So we're going to wash our brush well. I'm onto the square head brush at this stage. I don't want to get too tight too quick, so use bigger brushes first. Bigger brushes to get the colour down, to get the bare bones in, and then smaller brushes to add detail at the end. So I'm going to put white in here. So look at where it's lightest, sitting here at the lemon. Noting in where the white is lightest. Wash my brush before I go back in for more. Now, I have some of that lemon on my brush. I'm going to add it down in here to where my lime is, because that's my daughter singing something from Frozen. You're welcome. Okay, into this little one here, a little bit as well. So yes, they're not yellow, they're green, but I am using yellow as the lightest colour. And again, over on this side, and I'll steal some from here. In yellow to where my line is. Also, the tin jug is shiny, but the lemon is also reflecting off it. So we are not want to leave that out. So when you put some yellow in there too. Right, concentrate on this lemon when we're here. Now we're going to darken down. So remember we mixed up our orange over here, the lighter orange. I'm going to add it in. So we're protecting the area that is lightest, and now we're starting to look, where is it getting darker? Well, it's getting darker there. I'm not wanting to mix too much on the canvas because the paint's very wet at this stage. Even though it feels like it's too much, don't worry. Blending comes later. Put it in. Good. This needs refined a wee bit, that's just not 100% there. Slightly better. Okay, can our orange be used anywhere else in any of these wee lines? Well, there's a wee bit where it's broken off the plant here, and maybe think about putting a wee bit just in around those segments are. I'm going to do the same here because it's been sitting out of her wee lime. It's getting very dehydrated and starting to brown. Now, how do we think it's going? If you're painting along, I hope you're getting on well. I will look forward to seeing what you have made. Right, let's go for the green. Now, all of these colours, my room is very hot, the sun is shining through. So all I'm going to do is give it 3 wee squirts now. I mean, it's not saturated, just a wee bit to keep it moist. Okay, I'm going to go for the lighter of the greens now. And even that green isn't light enough, so I'm going to put a little bit down here beside the yellow. And I'm going to take some of that lemon that we have mixed up, and I'm going to mix it in and hope that it gives me more of a lime green. Now, if you have a small palette like mine, you can struggle like I am to find space to mix, or just get yourself a bigger palette would make sense, or if you run out of room, even if you have a paper plate. So can you see there? So it's much more of a lime green. We're going to go in to the lime now. So it's still too dark. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that in where the darkest bits are. And then I will add white and yellow on the page. Notice the way I'm moving my brush. It's not always nice and flowy. I find very early on when I think I had a wonderful teacher called Mr. McCrory, and he encouraged me to paint and introduced me to the style of Cézanne, who is an impressionist painter. And so I use lots of tiny little marks. I like dots, I like crisscrosses over, I like dabs. Those are the sort of marks that I like, but find your own. Find what makes you happiest. Give this a go. If it's for you, great. If it's not, just work until you find what is for you. Okay, so that's slightly better. Although we need to be more in the pastel, I think. So I'm going to add some white in. That's better, isn't it? Maybe you don't think so. Right, now you've got that colour, I'm going to fill in here. So these are those segments are. Right. Just green, just yellow and orange on here. going to move on with the lemon. I might use a wee bit more orange, but I don't want to go to the really dark orange. I'm going to add a little bit more of that orange in on top. Okay. Now, there is a little hint of the orange in that line, just about there. I'm going to leave it at that. Now, let's go to this line. I'm going to go for the dark green, but I'm going to mix it in with some of that blue that is there. See? Similar blue to what is in the jug. And I'm going to set in a few little marks where I see it is darkest. Not forgetting about these ones over here either. The lines have moved from drawing this out. Not forgetting that there's also a shadow underneath these, so I probably won't leave it that colour, but I don't want to forget that it's there. And under here, that's hidden behind that little fold. It's in there, and this one here. So just looking now, marking in where the different sorts of darks and lights are. So same way, I've worked in the same sort of colour tones. The colours are sitting beside each other on the colour wheel. I'm going to add a little more. So that's like in this one, I added in yellow, blue and pink that you maybe wouldn't normally see. On the yellow, I'm going to add in a little bit of the lighter purple. Now, complementary colours are two colours sit directly opposite each other in the colour wheel, and they make each other really pop and stand out. Perhaps colours that we wouldn't normally put together in a room, but they're colours that work perfectly with each other. So I'm going to use that complementary of yellow is purple. So I'm going to put some of that into the shadow so you can see how it makes it really stand out. And I'm also going to put some of it into the lemon. Not going over the top, not going crazy. And you see how slowly I'm moving my brush. I am thinking before I put it down. And I'm looking very carefully at the composition. Okay, now the complementary of green is red. I'm not going to put red straight onto it, but I am going to use the purple, but I'm going to make it ever so slightly more red. And I'm going to use that in on my line. Okay. What I will then do is, because I can't film all of this, my goodness, you'll be watching for a fortnight. I will work on a little bit more on that until I have got it to the stage where I am happiest with it. But I will be doing the same thing, just working on those colours that sit nicely beside each other around the colour wheel, and then also little pops of complementary colours here and there, but using the same little marks, not getting too bogged down in detail, still keeping it quite pared back. Okay. Right, we have got it to this stage. I've had to change my angle a wee bit because it's getting later. The sun's going down, so I need to make sure that the light is still okay for me to use. So I have got the fruit in. You can see I've added a wee bit extra around the bottom, wee mix of colours in, and I am happy with, because again, this is the final piece. This is only a wee paint sketch, a preparatory study. Okay, so we're not getting too bogged down in finishing it for sale. We are just enjoying the process of taking the information in with our eye, passing it to our hands, and having a play about with colour. So, jug, fruit, we've got the background, we've got the cloth in the front. We're going to head for the flowers first of all. Now, I think probably, because I don't want to add it in at the end, I'm going to do the ferns at the back. So there's an awful lot of greenery. And if I start to put in the flowers at this stage, fitting the green in around, sorry, I keep talking off here. Maybe that's better. Fitting the green in around becomes quite difficult. So I'm going to put in the ferns at the background, then I'll put in the flowers, and the rest of the leaves I can then fix in amongst it. So I'm going to go for my smallest brush that I have, and I'm going to put in the stem first of all, and then the little feathery leaves off it. So everything's quite dry now, let it dry off. I'm going to make my brown maybe a little more orangey. So I've added some of the orange to the brown colour that I had before, and I'm also going to add a little bit of white to it. So I've got this colour, right? Now, my fur fern, look at the cut of that. It's just all curled up. It was lovely yesterday. And there's one coming out this side too, so I am just going to very carefully, remember they are coming from your pot, so mine's kind of come off. There we go. And there's another one up here. A wee bit light. Right. There we go. Those are the main ones. I think there are a few wee ones that come sort of in here. Yes, I think that's right. Right, this lighter colour of green, then I'm going to mix it in with a wee bit of that light brown. And look at the shape, look at how the leaves are made up. They're like tiny little dabs. So I'm going to hold my paintbrush right at the end and sort of work my way gently. Now, I'm not painting every leaf. To be honest, I just don't have patience for that, carry on. Maybe you do, but I definitely don't. So I am just going to hint at what is there. You can see how that's going. Now, I'm not going to waste your time watching me do that. I am going to just work my way, building up my ferns, and I will use this colour of green and maybe a darker colour of green, and then mix a little bit of black in with one of the greens for a darker tone. Same again then. Ferns are in. The next thing I am going to do is I am really drawn to these orangey colours. I'm going to put in this long spike, and because then I'm on that colour tone, I'm going to also add in here and these two here, although this one has lost quite a bit from the top, which just fallen off. So I'm going to do those next. Right, same thing. I will paint one and then I will time lapse the rest so you're not having to watch me paint. Right, so this is going in here. Again, using the same sort of marks. This brush is too small. going to add some white to that and maybe some yellow. Again, I just want this nice and loose, so I'm going to hold towards the end again. Nice big marks. Okay. Now, building that all up. It's a nice strong colour. Nice strong colours. Build up until we come down here. Okay, notice the way I'm holding my brush. Not feeling too concerned about wee delicate marks, but I'm just noting in where the darks are, where the lights are. So I'm moving on to purple now. Looking in and around here, where are darks. Look at the shape of them. It reflects in. Okay, as I get to the top, they're smaller. Some around here, be overlapping. Come down here to the bottom. Now run off the page, that's fine. I'm going to add in a little bit of the lemon here, but I'm going to add more white to it. So we can add little snippets. Now remember, wet on wet means it's going to paint, it's going to mix. Okay, we'll leave that there for now. Now, back to the pinky orange. I'm going to put in, I think, these ones first. So they are around here. They're very strange shaped flowers. Almost like little lines. Around maybe fireworks, but they're, I don't know what they remind me of. It's a very strange shaped little flower. I'm going to get my brush a little bit smaller and I'm going to use that really strong orange. I'm going to mark those marks into, just where you see it darker. Moving your brush just to mimic the shapes that you're seeing. And in underneath, some of that lemon. Again. Just take your time. If you're painting along with this, just don't rush. And know that once it's dry, you can work back over it again. You're just noting in to give yourself a little guideline. Right, and I'm going to work these two little flowers in now. Be selective. I am not going to paint all of these flowers. I'm going to hint that there's some orange here and some orange here, but I'm not going to get too crazy about noting every single flower because it's a very busy composition and I don't want it to become really overcomplicated now. For this one, I'm going to start off with the orange. Look at the insides of these flowers. That is much lighter and it's coming in somewhere about here. There's the center of those. I'm going to move over here then. This time we're not looking into the flower, but this side we're looking side on from them. Okay. Then with darker orangey pink, I'm going to put in some of the nice petal shapes. Again, just carefully looking. You're not making up the shapes, they're already there. Okay, now I'm going to leave you at this stage and I'm going to continue on to add in the darks and the lights and building up. I will also give these little flowers a green stem where needed, and then after that I think we are going to tackle the purple. We have the purple in, we have the spikes of orange in on both sides. We've completed our fruit at the front, the folds of the fabric. Most of it is in now. We're going to go for the blue and the pita, and then finally to finish off we will put in the daisies. Now position the daisies just to draw our eye around the painting, and they are stark white as well, which is adding interest and areas of focus around that they won't get tangled up or confused in the rest of the colour or the foliage. So going for a blue this time, I'm going to add some white to the blue to make it lighter, and then a very small amount of red. So it's on the purple side. And look at how these flowers are built up, tiny little dots. And that's the way I'm just going to set them on, nice and loosely, not overcomplicating them too much. Make some a little more white and some more red. I'm going to set them around here. Same thing again, just tiny little dots, bringing it down in a more abstract way than what we can see. I like this gap here, so I'm not wanting to complicate that or fill it in too much. Everything is just running off. A few bits over here. I want to keep them quite blue, so it's not getting confused with this area of purple. What I'll do then is just work on that a wee bit, add in the greenery, and then we will be ready to add in these few little stripes of grasses. We have larger ones here in the back, a few little leaves in the same colour as our jug, and then finally maybe put a little bit of this froth in here in the lime green. But these are our next big focus point here, the daisies. we are nearly there. Thanks be to goodness. We have nearly it all in. Like, do you know, you're looking at this at a slight angle. So there we go. It's just started. So we have the main body and we have the vessels holding flowers. We have all of the main flowers that are composing our study. We have the fruit at the front. We have a background. We have a foreground. We have shadows in that I will develop a wee bit just at the very end. The only thing that's missing now are a few of these daisies. Now, because they are white, I don't want them to stand out like they don't fit in. Sometimes like adding white to paintings makes everything look like there's snow or something on it. So just, we'll go delicately at it. The white won't be the white out of the tube. I will put a little bit of blue perhaps into it just to take the sharpness off the colour sitting in front of everything else. But yes, I'll start with the yellow in the very centre. So because I have your palette, if you're painting along, should look something like this. You have colours everywhere. Now, I didn't clean my brush. I hope you did. Sometimes when you're starting to paint, you're just eager to get at it and you forget. But sure. Let's go for some of this yellow. So the yellow is a very deep yellow. It's onto the orange end. Now, I'm going to put one down in here. I'm going to move it over slightly. I don't want it dead center, so I'm going to move mine over here. I'm just going to put blob. Oh, don't want it to run though. In there. I'm going to put another little one in here, but I'm going to knock that one back. I want that to be nice and dark. I want it to be sitting in there so it won't be as bright as that. We have another one I'm going to put here, but we're looking at it side on so we can see the dome in the middle rather than just a circle looking straight on. I'm going to put a little one here and then put one in there. There we go. Right, I've got these dots in. Can't leave them sitting like that, so I need to add a little orange to them. We have the lighter orange made up. So remember, light's coming from here, so shadow is going to be on the right hand side. Okay. That one is pointing downwards. This one is pointing upwards. I want this one to sit back in, remember, so I'm going to knock it back. This one and down right here. Now, I'm going to get darker again, use the darker orange. And just again, putting in where it's dark. Now there's some green also showing through on these. I'm going to quite darken that one. This one, your darkest bit is this little hollow in the very top. And then there's a little bit out and around. And down here, same. Now, I'm going to wash my brush and I'm going to go in with the brown. Make that darker again. Now you could spend all night at this. I could fritter away at it for hours, but again, just reminding you, it's not a final piece. It is a preparatory piece. But if you continue to work on it, this could easily be a final piece too. But for me, these are paint sketches. They are quick. I'm trying not to think too much about them, not over analysing the detail. I'm just getting down lines, shapes, forms. They're giving you enough information to know what it is that I am painting. Okay, so starting to happy with that. Don't want these daisies to just stick out like they're a foreign body in this bouquet. They're not really matching anything else. And then this one here. Okay, Now, let's put in these petals using the smallest brush, which is this one, which still isn't particularly small. It's so painted over it. It's a hog hair brush, which means it's quite coarse anyway. I think it is a, do you know, I can't even see the number. I thought it was a 0, but it's maybe a 1. Oh, it is. It's a 1. It's a 1. So I am going to mix the white with the tiniest little bit of blue. I don't want tiniest little bit of blue, and maybe, oh, barely touching my brush into the black. Okay, and I am going to put my little petals in. Now, I don't want this to just look like a child's painting where I'm starting to swirl around or just jagging out the way like some sort of a firework either. Thinking carefully about the way that the petals fall, and I'm going to go for this one up here first of all. I can barely see the petals at that side. These ones starting to stick out and droop down. They're overlapping. They're not all just sitting side by side. And they're getting brighter as they're coming around, because that's sitting side towards the light. There. Now, it's a base in. I'll need to darken it up. This one I want to sort of sit in underneath some of the other flowers, so I don't want it to really stand out. It's been tucked down in. Okay, that's in there. Good. I'm happy with how this is going. I'm going to add a wee bit more white in so that the paint is thicker, but I also need to add then in more blue and tiniest little bit more black. Okay, and I'm going to do this one over at this side here. So one. This one here is a bad shape. It's a bad shape. It's decaying badly at this stage. And I have, again, mixed paint with paint on, which is fine, but just means that my white is no longer clean. It's got yellow in it. So I'll have to go back over that and fix it. Now, this little one here. Look carefully how the petals, they don't just come out uniformly. They overlap, they bend, they fall away. Some of them have rounder edges. Now, there we go. So I think they're sitting nicely. They're not sitting out from all of the other flowers. I don't want the daisies to be the attention seekers of the painting. I want them all to grab equal attention. Now, this head can't just hang here. Down below, the rest of them could all exist because there's such a mass underneath them, but this one needs a stem. Actually, you can't even hardly see the stem because there's a leaf coming out. There we go. I'm not sure how clear that is, but I will give you a wee close-up at the end. I'm going to go back in with more of this. I'm going to darken it right down this time because I'm going to put in the really dark bits and underneath. Nice blue grey. Going to put in around here and underneath. Some of the petals. One here. This one's here slightly darker. I say it's not a huge amount of shadow on them, just a little. If you have painted along with me and you post your work on social, or even if you don't, tag me or send me a wee picture of it on my Instagram or Facebook. I would love to see your final outcome. I'm looking forward to teaching this in class and seeing what the pupils make too. Right, I'm going to add in a little stem. Quite a nice colour, that grey, that blue grey. So I'm going to consider putting it into a few other places. I can even put in some of these little shadowy bits. Oh, that is too much black. So I don't want to put that. Don't want to put that on. I need to mix that down. So at this stage then, I am just looking for the darkest bits of shadow in here, in here. So they're adding contrast to the light. So elevating it from something that is very flat to something that has a 3D quality. And I think I am very nearly done. So if you have stuck with me until this point, well done. I hope it has been helpful. And if there's anything else that you would like me to paint or paint along with me, just let me know and I will see what I can do. Now, I am almost out of daylight outside, so I will leave this one until tomorrow. What I'm going to do last thing is with the pure white. I'm going to add in wee highlights on these daisies especially. Here. I'll leave them nice and thick. That one not so much because remember I said I want to knock it back. I want it to be sitting down in. Is there anywhere else on my vase I could add a little? Maybe a little more on my lemon and the And now that these are all lovely and dry, it's much easier for the paint just to sit without getting mixed in with the others. There we go. I think I could poke for quite some time. I'm not going to. I'm going to leave it at that. There we go. You have stayed with me. I'm going to take it off the stand. Okay, so there we go. Fully finished piece. And we are done. So there we go. From doing our first initial little sketches in charcoal and one in ink, we have turned this into this. And it hasn't taken us that long. I hope you have enjoyed painting along with me. I certainly have enjoyed this too. Now, I am still getting used to having to talk through absolutely everything that I am doing. So hopefully it was clear. But I do hope to do a lot more of these. So please subscribe to the channel and follow along, creating your own pieces of artwork. And again, if it doesn't look exactly like mine, it doesn't matter, because it's yours, and that's what's most important, that you are putting your own personality into your artwork and that you are just enjoying being creative.